My name is Isabella Carter. I once believed I had the perfect marriage, a devoted husband, a baby growing inside me, and a future carved in stone. But on the very day I found out I was having a son, I also discovered my husband was cheating with my best friend. And that was only the beginning. Before I share the full story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've ever overcome adversity for the sake of family. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. The autumn leaves crunched beneath my feet as I hurried toward the clinic, my hand instinctively resting on my belly. Portland mornings had that particular chill that made everything feel more alive, more real. Today was the day. The day I'd finally know if the little flutter inside me was a boy or a girl. My heart raced with the kind of anticipation that only expectant mothers understand. I checked my phone again. 8:47 a.m. Ethan's text from an hour ago still glowed on the screen. Emergency meeting came up. I'll try to make it, Izzy. Love you. I'll try. Those words sat heavy in my chest, but I pushed the feeling down. He was building our future, after all. His architecture firm had just landed the biggest project in Oregon's history, some massive development that would reshape Portland's skyline, as he liked to say. I understood. I had to. The waiting room smelled like lavender and antiseptic, an odd combination that somehow worked. Other pregnant women sat with their partners, hands intertwined, sharing nervous smiles. I gripped my purse tighter and thought about our wedding day 4 years ago. The way Ethan had held my face in his hands, rain drizzling around us at the Columbia River Gorge, and whispered, "I'll always choose you, Izzy, no matter how the world changes." Isabella Carter? The nurse's voice pulled me back. The ultrasound gel was cold against my skin. The technician, a woman with kind eyes behind thick glasses, moved the wand across my belly. "There's your baby," she said, pointing at the screen. "Would you like to know the gender?" "Yes," I breathed. "Congratulations, Mrs. Carter. You're having a boy." A boy. Ethan's son. I felt tears sliding down my cheeks as I stared at the grainy image. I could already see him, teaching him to throw a baseball in our backyard, helping with homework at the kitchen table I'd inherited from my grandmother, watching him grow into a man like his father. Strong, successful, mine. The technician printed the images, and I clutched them like treasure as I made my way to the checkout desk. That's when I heard it, Ethan's laugh. That particular laugh he reserved for when he was trying to charm someone. My body knew it before my mind did, freezing mid-step. "We have to keep this quiet, Harper." His voice drifted from around the corner, near the emergency exit. "She can't know about this." "At least not until everything's finalized." Harper, my college roommate, my maid of honor, the woman who'd held my hair back through morning sickness just last week. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. My legs felt like water, but somehow I forced them to carry me backward, out of sight. I pressed myself against the wall, ultrasound photos crumpling in my fist. "You worry too much," Harper's voice replied, and I heard the smile in it. That flirtatious lilt I remembered from our sorority days. "I know how to keep a secret, baby." Baby? The word hit me like a physical blow. I bit down on my knuckle to keep from gasping. Through the reflection in the glass door, I saw them. Ethan in his charcoal suit, the one I'd picked out for his birthday, standing too close to Harper, her hand on his chest. The casual intimacy of it made my stomach turn. I don't remember driving home. One moment I was in the clinic parking lot. The next I was sitting in my driveway, engine still running, staring at our Craftsman house like I'd never seen it before. The roses I'd planted last spring bloomed cheerfully along the walkway, mocking me with their perfection. Inside, everything looked the same. Ethan's coffee mug in the sink, his running shoes by the door, the sticky note on the fridge reminding me about dinner with his parents on Sunday. How could everything look so normal when my world had just imploded? I called in sick to school, the first time in 3 years. My sophomore English students would have to survive discussing The Great Gatsby with a substitute. The irony wasn't lost on me. All those discussions about the American dream, about betrayal and illusion, Had I been living my own Gatsby delusion? My phone buzzed. Ethan. How did it go? Boy or girl? Sorry I missed it. Making it up to you tonight. Reservations at Le Pigeon, 7 p.m. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. What do you say to a man who just shattered your heart but doesn't know you know? I typed and deleted a dozen responses before settling on, Boy, see you at 7. The rest of the day blurred. I found myself doing strange things, checking Ethan's side of the closet, counting his shirts like evidence, opening his laptop, password, our anniversary date, how romantic, and staring at the screen, not sure what I was looking for, not sure I wanted to find it. But I did search. Of course I did. His browser history was mostly work-related, but there, between architecture blogs and building permits, were restaurant reservations. Hotels. Not the ones he'd taken me to. I clicked on his Google Maps history, a feature he probably didn't know existed. There it was. Regular trips to an address in Seattle. A high-rise apartment building in Capitol Hill. My hands shook as I typed the address into a reverse lookup. The apartment was registered to H. Lewis. Harper Lewis. The bathroom tile was cold against my cheek as I curled up on the floor, sobbing until my ribs ached. Pregnant women aren't supposed to lie on bathroom floors. They're supposed to nest, to glow, to plan nurseries with their devoted husbands, not discover that their best friend and husband have been playing house in Seattle. By evening, I'd pulled myself together enough to shower and dress. Ethan came home with flowers, white roses, my favorite. He kissed my forehead, his hand finding my belly with practiced ease. A boy, he said, and his smile seemed genuine. I'm so sorry I missed it, Izzy. This project is just— I know, I interrupted. It's important. Throughout dinner, I studied him like a stranger. When had he become such a good liar? Every bite of the perfectly seared duck felt like sawdust in my mouth. He talked about the project, about names for the baby, about converting his office into a nursery. All the while, I wondered if Harper was waiting for his call, if she was wondering why he was having dinner with his pregnant wife instead of her. You're quiet tonight, he observed, reaching for my hand across the table. I let him take it, felt his wedding ring against my palm. Just tired. Growing a human is exhausting. We could skip dessert, go home early. Actually, I heard myself say, I think I'll visit Harper this weekend. I haven't seen her in a while. Something flickered in his eyes. There and gone so fast I might have imagined it. That's nice. Tell her I said hi. Tell her yourself, I thought. You probably will anyway. I told Ethan I was attending a teaching conference in Seattle. He didn't question it, just kissed me goodbye and reminded me to rest. The drive north felt like descending into madness. Every mile marker was a choice to turn back, to pretend I'd never heard that conversation, never seen that address. But I couldn't unknow what I knew. Harper's building was exactly what I'd expected, all glass and steel, the kind of place tech money built. The doorman didn't question my story about surprising an old friend. The elevator ride to the 15th floor lasted forever and not long enough. I stood outside apartment 1512 for a full minute, key fob from our college days still miraculously working on her door. We'd exchanged them junior year, promising always to have each other's backs. The irony burned. The apartment was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. Designer furniture I recognized from the magazines Ethan brought home for inspiration. But it was the details that gutted me. The throw pillow from our honeymoon in Mexico. The photograph of the three of us at my wedding on the mantel. Ethan's Northwestern hoodie draped over a chair. And then I saw it. The thing that changed everything. On the kitchen counter, next to a prenatal vitamin bottle, was an ultrasound photo. I picked it up with trembling fingers. The date stamp showed 3 weeks ago. The measurements indicated approximately 20 weeks. 20 weeks. I did the math, my teacher's brain automatically calculating backward. She'd been pregnant since July. I'd gotten pregnant in August. He'd betrayed me before we'd even created our son. Oh my God. I spun around. Harper stood in the doorway, yoga mat under her arm, face draining of color. Her perfectly highlighted hair was pulled back, and there was no hiding the gentle swell beneath her Lululemon tank top. Izzy, don't. The word came out sharper than broken glass. Just don't. We stood there, former best friends, both carrying the children of the same man. The silence stretched until I thought it might snap and cut us both. How long? I finally asked. Harper sank onto her cream-colored couch, probably bought with Ethan's money. Since the Richardson Project launch party. You had that school thing, remember? You asked me to go with him, to keep him company. I laughed, but it sounded like choking. I asked you to keep him company, not keep his bed warm. It wasn't supposed to happen. She actually had tears in her eyes, as if she was the victim here. But you know how Ethan is. He was stressed about the project, drinking more than usual. We shared a cab, and you fucked my husband. The crude word made her flinch. Good. He loves me, she said quietly. He's going to leave you, after the baby's born, after he secures the Singapore project. He promised. Singapore project? I filed that away, my mind racing. Is that what he told you? Harper, I'm pregnant too. Did he mention that during your little love affair? Her face crumpled. For a moment, I saw my old friend, the girl who'd held my hand through my dad's death, who'd stayed up all night helping me grade papers my first year teaching. Then I remembered she'd been sleeping with my husband for months, and the sympathy evaporated. Get out, she whispered. This is your apartment. I'll see myself out. I paused at the door. Oh, and Harper? He said hi. I drove to the Olympic Peninsula instead of going home. I needed the ocean, needed something vast enough to hold the scream building in my chest. The beach was empty, October wind whipping sand against my legs as I walked until my feet went numb. My phone rang incessantly. Ethan. Harper. Ethan again. I let it ring and tried to think past the pain. There was something about the Singapore project that nagged at me. Ethan had never mentioned it, and he usually couldn't shut up about potential international work. By the time I got home Sunday night, I had a plan. There you are. Ethan pulled me into a hug that made my skin crawl. How was the conference? Enlightening, I said truthfully. I learned a lot about things I didn't know before. He studied my face, and I forced myself to meet his eyes. Those green eyes I'd fallen in love with, now strange and calculating. You look tired. You should rest. I will, after I grade some papers. But I didn't grade papers. I went through his laptop again, this time knowing what to look for. The Singapore project was there, buried in a folder marked Tax Documents 2019. My accountant father had taught me enough to recognize what I was looking at. This wasn't just a building project. This was a massive financial scheme involving offshore accounts, shell companies, and numbers that made my head spin. And there was Harper's name, listed as a consultant on accounts worth millions. I screenshot everything, emailed it to a new account Ethan didn't know about. Then I found Liam Hayes' business card in my father's old files. Dad's law school roommate, now a corporate attorney specializing in financial crimes. I'd need help understanding what I'd found. The meeting with Liam changed everything. This is big, Izzy, he said, sliding his glasses up to rub his eyes. We sat in his downtown office, city lights twinkling below us. This isn't just infidelity. Your husband is involved in a major money laundering operation. And from these documents, he's been using your name too. My hand went to my belly. What? Here, he pointed to a form. You supposedly own 30% of a shell company in the Caymans. Did you sign anything recently? Investment documents? Insurance forms? I thought back. He's been having me sign things. Said it was for the baby's college fund, life insurance. He's been setting you up as a partner. If this goes south, and these schemes always do, you'd be legally liable. The room spun. My baby, I can't go to prison. I can't. You won't, Liam said firmly. But we need to be smart about this. And Izzy, Harper isn't just his mistress. Based on these fund transfers, she's neck deep in this too. Maybe not by choice. That night, I lay next to Ethan, listening to him breathe, wondering how many lies could fit in the space between us. He mumbled in his sleep, and I heard Harper's name. My hands clenched the sheets until my knuckles went white. The next morning, Harper called while Ethan was in the shower. "We need to talk," she said. "Please, Izzy, you don't understand everything." Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop in Bellevue, neutral territory. She looked terrible. Designer bags under her eyes, her usual perfect makeup replaced by bare skin and worry. "He's using us both," she said without preamble. "I found out about your pregnancy last week. He said he couldn't leave you until after the baby because it would look bad for the Singapore investors. Traditional values and all that." "So you decided to tell me?" "No," she laughed bitterly. "I decided to dig into why these investors cared about his marriage. Izzy, I'm in trouble. He had me sign papers, said they were for our future. I'm listed as the owner of accounts I've never seen. There's money missing, and I think when this falls apart, I'm the one who'll take the blame." I stirred my coffee, watching her squirm. Part of me wanted her to suffer, but the teacher in me, the woman who'd once called her sister, recognized the look of a student who'd just realized they'd been copying the wrong answers all semester. "How much do you know about the Singapore project?" I asked. Her face went white. "You know about that?" "I know enough. Question is, are you willing to do something about it?" Working with Harper felt like swallowing glass, but we needed each other. She had access to Ethan's Seattle office, knew his passwords, his habits. I had Liam's legal expertise and years of knowing how Ethan's mind worked. We met in secret, usually when Ethan thought I was at prenatal appointments. Harper would forward documents, recordings of conversations she'd started making. The picture that emerged was uglier than either of us had imagined. Ethan wasn't just cheating financially. There was a third woman, Melissa from his office. Younger than Harper, newer to the game. He'd started the same pattern with her, promising love while entangling her in his web of fraudulent accounts. "He picks women who trust him," Liam explained during one of our sessions. "Smart women who won't question signing a few documents for love. Then when the authorities come knocking, guess whose names are on everything?" I thought about all the papers I'd signed over the years. Trust, love, the foundation of marriage turned into weapons against me. The breaking point came on a Thursday. I was making dinner, trying to maintain the facade of normalcy, when Ethan came home early. He was whistling, as he wrapped his arms around me from behind. "Good news," he murmured against my neck. "The Singapore deal is almost done. We should celebrate." "Oh?" I kept chopping vegetables, the knife steady in my hand. "Tell me about it." He spun me around, eyes bright with what I now recognized as greed, not love. "It's going to change everything, Izzy. We could move anywhere. Maybe somewhere without extradition treaties." He laughed like it was a joke. It wasn't. "What about your son?" I asked quietly. "Our life here?" Something shifted in his expression. "Of course the baby comes first. I just meant options are good, right?" That night, I couldn't play along anymore. After he fell asleep, I packed a bag with the essentials and my evidence drive. I kissed his forehead, a goodbye to the man I'd thought he was, and left. The text came at 3 a.m. "Where are you? Izzy, please. Whatever you think you know, we can talk about it." Then at 4 a.m. "I know you went through my computer. We need to discuss this in person." By 5 a.m., the tone changed. "You don't understand how deep this goes. Come home before you do something we'll both regret." I was already in Montana by then, driving toward my family's old cabin in Glacier National Park. The place where Dad taught me to fish, where Mom painted watercolors of the mountains before cancer took her, where I'd grieved and healed before, where I'd do it again. Liam called as the sun rose over the Rockies. "Ethan knows you're gone. He's called me 3 times. Also, Harper's missing, too." "What do you mean, missing?" "She was supposed to send me the latest files last night. Her phone's off, her apartment's empty." My blood ran cold. "You don't think he—" "I think you were smart to leave. Stay where you are. I'm filing the FBI report today." The cabin was exactly as I'd left it last summer, dusty but solid. I built a fire, made tea, and sat on the porch watching the mountains. My son kicked, reminding me I wasn't alone. I talked to him, Told him about his grandfather who'd built this place with his own hands, about the women who came before him who survived worse than betrayal. Ethan found me on the third day. I heard his Audi before I saw it, the engine too refined for the rough mountain road. I'd known he'd come. He'd always been predictable when cornered. Izzy. He stood at the bottom of the porch steps, looking up at me like a stranger. His usual polish was gone, stubble, wrinkled clothes, desperation leaking through. We need to talk. So talk. I didn't move from my rocking chair, didn't invite him up. You don't understand the full picture. These people, the investors, they're not the kind you can just walk away from. If this deal doesn't go through, if those accounts get frozen, he ran his hands through his hair. We could both end up dead. Or in prison, I said calmly. Which is where you're headed anyway. His face hardened. You went to the feds? Jesus, Izzy. You've killed us both. No, Ethan, you did that the moment you decided I was expendable. Me, Harper, Melissa, how many women were you planning to destroy? Harper knew what she was getting into, he spat. She wanted the lifestyle, the money, just like you. The accusation should have hurt. Instead, I laughed. I wanted a partner, a father for my children. Someone who'd choose me every day like you promised. I did choose you. You're my wife. The others were just what? Casualties? Collateral damage in your grand scheme? He climbed the steps then, and I saw the man he really was. Not the charming architect who'd swept me off my feet, but a cornered animal willing to bite anyone to escape. If you testify, you'll go down too. Your name is on everything. Think about our son. You want him born in federal custody? Our son will be born free, I said, standing slowly, with a mother who chose truth over comfort. Can you say the same? His hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. You're coming home with me. We'll figure this out together. No. I pulled free, stepped back. I'm done being your safety net, Ethan. You should leave. The FBI will be here soon. The bluff worked. His face went pale. This isn't over, Izzy. Yes, I said quietly. It is. After Ethan left, I couldn't stay at the cabin. If he'd found me once, he could do it again, and next time he might not come alone. I packed everything important and drove through the night to Missoula, checking into a motel under my maiden name. Harper called from a burner phone the next morning. He cleaned out the accounts, she said, her voice hollow. All of them. I went to the Seattle apartment and it's empty. Even took the ultrasound photos. Where are you? Portland, staying with my cousin. Izzy, I'm scared. He left me a note saying if I talk to anyone, he'll make sure I take the fall for everything. I thought about Harper, pregnant and terrified, finally understanding she'd been played just like me. Call Liam. Tell him everything. We're stronger together than apart. After what I did to you, you'd still help me? I'm not helping you, I said honestly. I'm helping your baby. They didn't ask for any of this. The next weeks blurred together. FBI interviews where I repeated my story until the words lost meaning. Liam guiding me through financial disclosures that made my teacher's salary look like pocket change. Reporters starting to sniff around the edges of the scandal. The story broke on a Tuesday. Portland architect charged in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. Ethan's professional headshot stared from every news site, that confident smile now sinister in hindsight. They arrested him at JFK, trying to board a flight to Dubai with a fake passport. The footage played endlessly. Ethan in handcuffs, his perfect facade finally cracked. I watched it once, then turned off the TV and focused on the nursery I was painting in my new apartment. Harper testified via video link, too close to her due date to travel. She looked small on the screen, voice shaking as she detailed how Ethan had promised her a future while systematically destroying her present. When the prosecutor asked why she'd betrayed her best friend, she broke down. Because I was weak, she sobbed. Because I wanted to be chosen, to be special. I destroyed the best friendship I ever had for a man who saw me as a convenient account number. My turn came when I was 8 months pregnant. Liam had warned me Ethan's defense would try to paint me as the scorned wife seeking revenge. I wore the only dress that still fit. No makeup, hair pulled back simply. Let them see me as I was. a pregnant teacher who'd discovered her life was built on lies. Mrs. Carter, Ethan's lawyer began, isn't it true you were aware of your husband's business dealings? I was aware he was an architect. I was not aware he was a criminal. But you signed numerous documents. I signed papers my husband told me were for our family's future. Insurance policies, college funds. I trusted him. I looked directly at Ethan then. That was my mistake. You expect us to believe you had no idea about the money flowing through accounts in your name? I'm a high school English teacher, I said simply. I teach teenagers about metaphor and meaning in literature. I grade papers and buy supplies with my own money because the school budget doesn't cover everything. The idea that I was masterminding financial fraud while teaching the crucible to 16-year-olds is laughable. The mention of Arthur Miller's play wasn't accidental. Everyone in that courtroom knew about witch hunts, about innocent people accused by those who had the most to gain from their silence. No further questions, the lawyer muttered. The prosecution's case was devastating. They had everything: emails, financial records, recordings Harper had made. They even had Melissa, who'd come forward when she realized she was next in line to take the fall. The pattern was clear. Ethan seduced women, involved them in his schemes, then positioned them to absorb the blame when things went wrong. During a recess, I felt the first contraction. Just Braxton Hicks, I told myself, breathing through it. My son couldn't come now. I needed to finish this. But as Ethan took the stand, spinning stories about miscommunication and overzealous investors, the contractions intensified. I gripped Liam's hand, trying to focus on Ethan's lies instead of the waves of pain. I need to go, I whispered. Now? Another contraction answered for me. The last thing I heard before Liam hustled me out was Ethan calling my name. Not Izzy, with false affection, but Isabella, sharp with panic. He'd realized I was leaving, that our son was coming, that he wouldn't be there. Good. Noah arrived during a thunderstorm, screaming his fury at the world. The nurses said he was loud for a newborn, already making himself heard. I held him against my chest, counting his fingers and toes, marveling that something so perfect could come from something so broken. Liam brought me updates from court. Ethan's defense was crumbling. His supposed international investors turned out to be shell companies he controlled. The Singapore project was a fantasy built on stolen money and forged documents. He's looking at 25 to life, Liam said, watching Noah sleep in my arms. The judge isn't sympathetic to men who prey on pregnant women. I thought I'd feel vindicated. Instead, I felt empty. The man I'd loved, whose child I held, was a stranger. Had he ever been real, or had I fallen in love with his greatest performance? The media descended like vultures. Architect of lies. The women who brought down Portland's golden boy. My photo was everywhere. The devoted wife who'd discovered the truth. Harper became the reformed mistress. Melissa, the final victim who'd escaped just in time. They camped outside my apartment until Liam got a restraining order. Someone leaked my teaching schedule and reporters ambushed me in the school parking lot. My principal, bless her, stationed security and threatened any journalist who disrupted our students' education. But it was the online comments that cut deepest. Strangers dissecting my marriage, analyzing photos for signs I should have seen. Some called me naive. Others said I must have known, must have benefited. The cruelest suggested I'd gotten pregnant to trap Ethan, that I'd driven him to other women. I stopped reading after someone posted my address. Harper reached out when Noah was 3 weeks old. Can I meet him? She asked. I know I have no right, but we met at a park. 2 women with babies fathered by the same criminal. Her daughter, Sophia, had Ethan's eyes but Harper's delicate features. Noah looked like me, thank God, except for his hands. He had his father's long fingers. I'm sorry, Harper said, watching our children sleep in their strollers. For everything. I destroyed us for nothing. Not nothing, I corrected. You helped bring him down. That counts for something. We sat in silence, former friends who'd shared everything, now strangers bonded by betrayal. I thought about the girls we'd been, planning our futures in dorm rooms, never imagining this. What will you tell her? I asked, nodding at Sophia. The truth, when she's old enough. That her father was a troubled man who made terrible choices. That she's not responsible for his actions. Harper wiped her eyes. What about Noah? The same, I suppose. The truth, delivered age appropriately. I touched my son's cheek. He deserves honesty. The trial's conclusion came faster than expected. Ethan, perhaps finally understanding the weight of evidence against him, changed his plea to guilty in exchange for a slightly reduced sentence. 20 years, with possibility of parole in 15. I wasn't in court for the sentencing. I was home, feeding Noah, when Liam called with the news. It's over, he said. He's going away for a long time. That night, I wrote Ethan a letter I'd never send. You were right about one thing. I didn't know you at all. The man I married wouldn't have risked his son's future for money, wouldn't have used women like disposable assets, wouldn't have built our life on a foundation of lies. I'll tell Noah the truth when he asks. That his father was brilliant, but broken. That he chose greed over family. That we survived without him and thrived despite him. I hope prison gives you time to find the man I thought I married, if he ever existed at all. Instead, I burned the letter in my sink, watching the words turn to ash. Some things didn't need to be said, only felt and released. 2 years later, I stood in Powell's books, watching people file in for my reading. Surviving the Ruins, a memoir of deception and redemption, had somehow made the bestseller list. Liam said it was because people loved a scandal. I thought it was because people needed to know they could survive betrayal. Noah toddled between the chairs, charming everyone with his father's smile but my determination. He'd learned to walk early, eager to explore every corner of our new world. I'd moved us to a craftsman in Selwood, far from the memories of our old life. Harper was there, in the back row, Sophia on her hip. We weren't friends, that trust couldn't be rebuilt. But we were something. Survivors of the same storm, maybe. She'd started a nonprofit for women escaping financial abuse, using her influencer platform for something meaningful. Thank you all for coming, I began, my teacher's voice carrying easily. 2 years ago, I discovered my life was fiction. Tonight, I want to talk about writing a new story. I read the chapter about the ultrasound, about hearing joy shatter in a medical building hallway. The audience was silent, absorbed. In the front row, Liam smiled encouragingly. We'd grown close during the legal battles, and lately that closeness had shifted into something new. Not love, not yet, but possibility. The truth didn't destroy me, I concluded. It freed me, from lies, from performance, from a life that was killing me, slowly. Yes, the revelation hurt. Yes, I wanted to hide. But ultimately, the truth gave me what Ethan's lies never could. Solid ground to rebuild on. During the Q&A, a young woman raised her hand. Do you forgive him? I'd been asked this countless times. I release him, I said carefully. Forgiveness implies he deserves absolution, but I don't carry hatred either. He's Noah's biological father, nothing more. The emotional real estate he once occupied has been renovated. Better tenants live there now. After the reading, as I signed books, a familiar face appeared in line. Melissa, Ethan's third target, held my book with shaking hands. Thank you, she whispered, for including my story, for showing I wasn't stupid, just trusting. None of us were stupid, I assured her, signing her copy. We loved someone incapable of loving us back. That's not stupidity. That's human. The bookstore emptied slowly. Liam helped me pack up, Noah asleep in his stroller. We walked to my car through the Portland drizzle, the city lights blurring through raindrops. Proud of you, Liam said softly. This couldn't have been easy. The easy thing would have been staying quiet, pretending it didn't happen, moving somewhere nobody knew our names. I strapped Noah into his car seat, kissing his forehead. But secrets are just lies waiting to detonate. I won't raise my son in their shadow. Speaking of not keeping secrets, Liam shifted nervously. I've been offered a position, teaching law at Columbia. It's a good opportunity, but it's in New York, I finished. Yeah. We stood in the parking garage, rain echoing off concrete. both afraid to say what came next. Finally, I took the leap I'd been considering for months. Noah's never seen snow in Central Park, I said, and I hear New York has decent schools that might need an English teacher. Liam's face lit up. Really? You'd consider it? I'd consider a lot of things these days. I've learned plans are just suggestions anyway. Life happens regardless. He kissed me then, gentle and questioning, nothing like Ethan's practiced passion. It felt like a first sentence in a new chapter, tentative but full of potential. 6 months later, I stood in our Brooklyn apartment, watching Noah play in the snow drifting past our window. The divorce was final. The movie rights had been sold. Harper sent Christmas cards but kept her distance. Ethan sent letters I didn't open, forwarding them to Liam to screen for anything Noah might need someday. My phone rang. My principal from Portland. Izzy, I have a former student who wants to thank you. Says your class saved her life. Mind if I give her your email? Of course, I said, remembering why I'd become a teacher in the first place. Not for the salary or summers off, but for those moments when literature meets life and creates understanding. That night, I tucked Noah into his race car bed, his current obsession. Story, Mama, he demanded. Once upon a time, I began, there was a woman who thought she knew her whole story. But life had different plans. I told him a toddler-friendly version of transformation, of caterpillars who thought they were dying only to discover they were becoming butterflies. He fell asleep before the ending, but that was okay. We had years to finish the story. Liam found me on the couch later, grading papers from my new students at Brooklyn Tech. Good day? He asked, settling beside me. Good day, I confirmed. Normal day. Beautifully, boringly normal. He understood. After years of high drama, normal was a gift. We'd built this new life carefully, honestly, with no hidden accounts or secret meetings. Just two people who'd seen each other's worst moments and chosen to stay. My laptop dinged with an email from the student my principal had mentioned. I opened it, unprepared for what I read. Miss Carter, you don't know me, but you saved my life. I was in your sophomore English class the day you didn't come to school. When you came back, you seemed different. Broken, maybe? But you kept teaching. You showed up every day, despite whatever was hurting you. Later, when the news broke about your husband, I understood. My mom had just left my dad for the same reasons. Lies, theft, other women. I was planning to drop out, to give up. But I watched you survive and thought if you could keep teaching through that pain, I could keep learning. I graduate from Portland State this spring. English major, because of you. I wanted you to know that your worst year was the thing that saved me. Thank you for showing me that breaking doesn't mean broken forever. I read it twice, tears blurring the screen. This was why we tell our stories. Not for revenge or vindication, but for the 17-year-old girl who needs to know survival is possible. You okay? Liam asked, seeing my tears. More than okay, I said, closing the laptop. I'm exactly where I need to be. Outside, snow continued to fall on Brooklyn, covering the city in fresh white. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Noah's dentist appointment, teaching Hamlet to teenagers who'd rather be anywhere else, deadline for my second book proposal. But tonight, in this apartment built on truth, with my son safe and my future unscripted, I was complete. The woman who'd walked into that ultrasound appointment, desperate for her husband's approval, was gone. In her place stood someone harder, softer, more real. Someone who knew the price of lies and the value of truth. I'd once believed love meant never questioning, never doubting, never demanding honesty. Now I knew better. Love wasn't blind faith. It was seeing clearly and choosing to stay. It was Harper, fighting to make amends. It was Liam, patient and persistent. It was Noah, pure potential in dinosaur pajamas. It was me, choosing myself every single day. I love you, I told Liam, meaning it in a way I couldn't have before Ethan. Before I learned that love without truth was just beautiful destruction waiting to happen. I love you too, he replied, and I believed him. Not because he said it, but because he'd proved it in 1,000 small truths. The man who'd guided me through hell now walked beside me in peace. Somewhere in federal prison, Ethan was probably planning his next con, his next performance. But that wasn't my story anymore. My story was here, in this snow globe moment, surrounded by the life I'd built from ruins. I thought about that wedding vow, twisted now with irony. I'll always choose you, no matter how the world changes. He hadn't, but I had chosen myself, and that made all the difference. The truth hadn't just saved me, it had transformed me into someone worth saving. And that was the only happily ever after I needed.
Don't let a perfect facade fool you. The truth may hurt, but it's the only foundation strong enough to rebuild a life worth living. Be brave enough to walk away from what's no longer real, because sometimes losing everything is how you finally find yourself. If you've ever chosen truth over comfortable lies, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments below.